Attention listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Australia to Houston, do we have a pube problem? If so, our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Kick your pubes to the next planet with the Performance Package 4.0. The orbits in your pants will feel like you're in zero gravity when you use the best tools for the job from the leaders in male grooming. Join 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com/DTR for 20% off and free shipping.
Aaron Donald creates the fumble. Goff goes crashing into the end zone.
It is intercepted by Jalen Ramsey.
Robert Wood, touchdown. Picked off by John Johnson. Touchdown, Tyler Higbee. Cooper Kupp plucks it out of the air.
Henderson with a good run and a first down. Still on his feet. Touchdown, Van Jefferson.
Everett in stride. Wow. Into the end zone. Cam Akers. LA will play for the Lombardi.
Welcome back, guys, to the Downtown Rams podcast. This is Jake Ellenbogen, and I am hosting without Alexis Kraft again today, hoping to grab her back here, next week. But in the meantime, I thought it would be pretty fun to interact with the audience, which I've always wanted to do. But now that our Discord channel is really starting to pop, we were able to do a mailbag on the Discord channel, which we got a bunch of questions, and that's going to be the name of the game for this show. But stay tuned. Even if you didn't get a question in, one, we'll be doing this more often, and two, I'm probably going to hit on something that you're interested in. Before we get started, here's a word from BetUS.com, our new sponsor. Very, very excited to have them aboard sponsoring the Downtown Rams podcast for the season. Hey guys, with sports betting season in full force with NHL and football fast approaching, you need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS. You may already know this, but BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That is BETUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses. For our listeners, you can join right now or call 800-69-BET-US. That is 800-MY-BET-US to receive 125% sign-up bonus using our bonus code RAMS125. They have re-up and referral bonuses as well. BetUS is known as America's favorite sportsbook for a lot of reasons. BetUS has all of your NBA, NHL games with team and player props, loads of NFL futures and NFL odds up already. You can bet UFC matches and props, PGA golf, round matchups, live betting on most sports, including golf. The online casino has hundreds of games, and the racebook has all your horse tracks. They have everything bet type imaginable. And the Sharp BetUS mobile platform is easy with full betting options. Follow my lead, get your phone, online, and social sports betting partner with integrity and longevity like I did. BetUS, you bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. Thank you so much to BetUS for sponsoring. Again, if you guys didn't hear or you guys weren't paying attention, Rams125 will get you 125% sign-up bonus with that code on BetUS.com. All right, let's get into it. So, mailbag we're discussing here. Got some really good participation, and I got Will from the Downtown Rams and Jake Ellenbogen community Discord channel. Which Rams players are you going to be watching the most closely in preseason? Well, Will, appreciate you as a longtime fan. You've been, awesome, very supportive, so I just want to give that shout out to you. But basically, looking at the preseason, you're not going to have a guy like Matthew Stafford in there. It's been pretty obvious you're not going to have most of the starters. It's Rams preseason. So for that reason, I'm going to look at guys that I find really intriguing. Maybe it's based on their athletic profile or just guys that I've interviewed in the past or what have you. But those guys would follow suit. Pretty much anybody at the quarterback position I find intriguing. Best, quarterback depth I've seen for the Rams in quite some time. The receivers are going to be interesting. I'm really curious now with Tristan Jackson, everything we're hearing about from Jordan Rodriguez about Tristan Jackson. That's a guy I'm going to be paying attention to. Ben Skoranek might not suit up because of the hamstring issue. I guess we'll see. Tutu Atwell, of course. The running backs. I want to see Xavier Jones take off and lead preseason in rushing. I want to see Jake Funk get involved. I definitely want to see Jacob Harris, Bryson Hopkins. Keep in mind, Bryson Hopkins didn't get a preseason last year. I think we all forget about, a lot of those guys that didn't get a preseason game. On the defensive side, I definitely look at, guys like Chris Garrett and Maximilian Roberts, pass rushers, in a position I think the Rams are the weakest in is, at that pass rusher spot, alongside Leonard Floyd, outside linebacker. So, I would say those guys. I'd be interested to see Robert Rochelle, but I don't think he'll be ready coming from wrist, surgery, not quite yet. So I'd probably say Dante Dion in the back end of the secondary, and then you're getting to see Jovan Grant from Merrimack, small school UDFA, a guy that I'm definitely interested to watch. So those are just some names, but those are the guys I'll be watching closest, moving forward. Now, with that said, we have Chef Peter again on the Discord. Surprise players who will make the roster / get cut? ? Yeah, so Chef Peter, this is a great question. First off, I would like to throw out Bryce Perkins. There's a chance the Rams only keep 2. Pretty big chance the Rams only keep 2 quarterbacks, but Bryce Perkins, to me, is somebody that could contribute this year in a Taysom Hill type of role, and that's what I've actually heard. So, if that is their, if that's the thing, if that's how they're looking at it, well, you could see Bryce Perkins make this roster and be used on game days in, more of a change of pace quarterback type role like Taysom Hill, like a gadget guy. He's got great athleticism. He's one of the fastest, one of the fastest players they have. He's definitely the fastest quarterback. So that's definitely intriguing to me. I think because of that added value, plus I think the guy can throw the deep ball, as good as anybody, that's coming out, of course. I would probably, give him an opportunity to make the roster. I wouldn't, call him completely out yet. Same thing with Devlin Hodges. If they like his ability to work off schedule, I think it's going to be huge for him in preseason to see what he can do. This is a guy that started 8 games with the Steelers, so I won't be shocked if, he makes his presence felt and, ends up making the roster. So I would say those 2, and then I think, will be interesting. Surprise cut could be a linebacker, could be a Kenny Young, a guy that is getting first team reps right now with Micah Kaiser. But, if a guy like, Christian Roseboom balls out, and, they have Jake Gervais, who is a former safety transferred to linebacker. If that works out, maybe Kenny Young finds himself on the outside looking in and is a surprise cut, as well as David Long. But I think David Long, who is supposedly having a really good camp so far, would really have to start falling off. And I don't know if I see that. So maybe not David Long. But, I definitely think, the top 4 safeties are all a lock. I would even say Nick Scott. I know some people, just kind of look at him and he's just a guy. But I really think he could start if need be. He's really made some significant strides, and, I'm definitely a fan of his. So I think he's good to go. But, to answer your question, Chef Peter, I would probably say, Perkins, Hopkins potentially is a surprise cut if the Rams just are really that done with him. I think they're being quiet about him because they want to use him for later. But, maybe that's the case. You could see Brian Allen, the, 4th round center out of Michigan State. He really hasn't done much. And, he's struggled with injuries and COVID, and he's behind the 8 ball, and now you have Austin Corbett, who's that center, so he's kind of expendable. And especially if a guy like Jordan Meredith, the UDFA, if Jordan Meredith comes out, balls out, ends up playing well at the center position, then I think Brian Allen's gone. I mean, quite honestly, Coleman Shelton's there as well, so I think that would be kind of a surprise cut. Aside from that, not really too many surprises. I think it'd be a little bit of a surprise if they cut Dante Dion. I'm pretty convinced he'll make the roster. They're not cutting Higbee or Johnny Munt or anything like that. The offensive line, I think they're going to keep pretty much everyone. The surprise cut would probably be Brian Allen at this point, since they've already, let go of Jamil Demby. Defensive line, unless they get rid of a guy like Greg Gaines, it's not going to be really a surprise, so to speak. So I'll leave it at that. I mean, maybe, if Terrell Lewis's knee is that bad, maybe they just cut ties with him now. Potentially, if Okoronkwo struggles, maybe they cut ties with him. But I don't see too many surprise cuts with the Rams. I think it's not the easiest to predict, but it's going to be pretty easy to project, I think, this 53-man roster than years past. Moving on, Ben Boom. Who do you expect to perform better this season, offense or defense, and why? This is a great question, Ben, and the reason I think this is a great question allows me to elaborate more on why I think the offense is not only going to be better than the defense, but I think we're looking at an offense that has a chance to be the best in the league. When you add a guy like Matthew Stafford, when you already have all those weapons, the offensive line is considered top 10 by PFF last year, and then this year they have him, I believe, at 8. When you look at all of that, there's not really a ton to worry about, especially when you have a quarterback like Matthew Stafford. Jared Goff had a lot of help, and he struggled last year. But they have put in Matthew Stafford. They plug and played him. And basically, Matthew Stafford over the last 10 years leads the league in fourth quarter comebacks. He's maybe the best deep ball thrower as far as accuracy is concerned over the last 10 years. And he's been playing on a rough team. So now, here he comes. He's going to go to the Rams here. The Rams head coach, Sean McVay, is 37-0 when leading at halftime. Basically, Matt Stafford is not used to having a defense like the Rams have, or, I guess weapons like the Rams have. It's not surprising, but he's not used to the defense. So I think because of that, the offense is going to absolutely thrive. You have, of course, Woods, Kupp, Jefferson, Jackson, Atwell seems to be back, and then you could have Tristan Jackson as well. Not to mention Higbee, Munt, Jacob Harris, Bryson Hopkins. So I mean, there's a lot of guys there. The run game is going to be huge. I think Darrell Henderson's in for a huge year. So I think the offense is still, despite losing Cam Akers, I think they're still trending as my number one offense this year for sure. I know it'll be tough with Kansas City, but I really feel confident that, Stafford has always been this great and was just on the wrong team. And sometimes, I know we haven't seen Tom Brady do it, but sometimes guys get stuck in flux, if they're not with the right team. This idea where no matter where you go, you have to win, that may be true to an extent, but it's not exactly the most realistic. And, to assume Stafford should carry a team that really he only had a top 10 defense once in his career is pretty ridiculous. So that's what I'll say in that regard. Scoot, he has, if Stafford wins an MVP but not a Super Bowl, does that put him in the Hall of Fame discussion, or does he need to accomplish more in your eyes? It's a great question, Scoot, and I think it does. I mean, what's been the biggest issue with Stafford? I think people have always felt like he's a really good quarterback, and despite the fact, yes, you could argue he has been in a bad situation, he hasn't quite, taken over as an elite quarterback. He hasn't put himself in that tier group. But with the Rams, I think he will. And honestly, I think he was before. I think, maybe people just have to do a little bit more research on him. But I think if he wins the MVP, that means he had a really, really good season, especially in this day and age. Probably going to have to throw around 5,000 passing yards, around 40 touchdowns. I have him at 51. So, I mean, if he does that, that is going to really help his case for Canton. And on top of that, he's like the top 15 of all passing stats career-wise. So it's not far-fetched. However, I think a Super Bowl would also be huge. At this point, I think MVP or Super Bowl is an auto bid. Not first ballot, but, definitely going to get in. MVP, I think MVP definitely gets him in. I think Super Bowl is an auto bid to get him in. I think he'll get in at some point with MVP. I think you win that Super Bowl, and now you can start to look at how quickly he could get in, over the course of his career, however long it takes and however long he's with the Rams. Moving on, L Pineapples. Appreciate the support from all of you guys, asking questions. L Pineapples asks, who other than Leonard Floyd will become a threat on the other side when fully healthy? Great question. I'm looking at Justin Hollins, the 5th round pick, or I think it was rather 4th round pick out of Oregon by the Denver Broncos. I think, Hollins has done a really nice job of improving his game all around. I'd like to see him take more of a step at improving himself as a pass rusher, but he's done such a nice job in coverage and against the run. So I think he's become more of a well-rounded outside linebacker. That's kind of how I felt before I heard about, his camp win. But right now, Jordan Rodriguez basically reported that it sounds to me like he is winning the battle in camp, and he's likely going to be the starter next to Leonard Floyd, which doesn't surprise me at all. Obviously Terrell Lewis, great ceiling and everything, but he can't stay healthy, and Okoronkwo hasn't been able to stay healthy either. So it's just a matter of, consistency and availability, and Justin Hollins, fits both of those. Fred Ware, how we doing? Which rookie is going to break out from this year's draft? That's a great question. I don't know if any rookie is going to break out, so to speak. I think the closest one would be Ernest Jones, because in my opinion, Ernest Jones is going to have the most opportunities. I think Ernest Jones is going to start. A lot of people know that that's how I've kind of gone out and said that. So if Ernest Jones starts, I think he has the most upside to have somewhat of a breakout season. Aside from that, there'd have to be, quite a few injuries for Tutu Atwell to break out. I think Jacob Harris potentially, maybe a Tyler Higbee injury forces him in the fold and he breaks out. But I think I'd be really comfortable if I was a betting man. I'd probably go with Ernest Jones. Now, Scoot, you have how many more seasons of Jalen's elite play will put him in Hall of Fame discussions? Great question. How many more seasons of Jalen's elite play will put him in Hall of Fame discussion? To me, I think Jalen Ramsey is a Hall of Famer right now. I know that sounds crazy, but if you look what he's done and how you can call him the best corner right now in his generation, that tells you all you need to know, in my opinion. Like, what are you going to remember when you go to, vote for all these guys? What are you going to remember? Are you going to remember the guy that won a Super Bowl but was one of the best? Or are you going to remember the guy that everyone has come out and finally admitted he is the best at the position, Jalen Ramsey? And that's the thing, is like, can you, basically when going over the story of the NFL, can you go through the 2020s and the 2010s and not mention Jalen Ramsey when talking about the history of the NFL? If you said yes, then he's not a Hall of Famer in your mind. But if you said no and you agree, then yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. And to me, I don't think you can go through the 2010s and 2020s without mentioning Jalen Ramsey, especially with what he did for Jacksonville in that 2017 defense. He was the heart and soul of that defense. And now, I just don't know how you could go through all of that and not mention Jalen Ramsey, especially for him being back-to-back, at least the last 2 to 3 years, the best corner in the league. It wasn't particularly close last year, so that's what I would say in that regard. But that's a great question, Scoot. Appreciate you throwing that out there. Matt_W, appreciate the submission here. So our target this season in the Super Bowl, if we don't win it, how long is our Super Bowl window? And what else needs to be done to get that ring? So this is a really cool question here. Obviously, the target's the Super Bowl. If you don't win it, how long is the Super Bowl window? Some would argue after Stafford, that window will close, but I have yet to see the future. I don't know who the Rams are going to grab as their quarterback. I can't sit here and pretend as if their window is completely closed or will close, so I'm not going to act like I know anything in that regard. If they were to go out and get a quarterback, like a Deshaun Watson or somebody, down the road, then I'm sorry. I think it would change things, and that's the thing, is that the NFL is unpredictable. And, here's another thing. The Rams went out and got Matthew Stafford. He wasn't even really considered at one point. That kind of just emerged late in, I want to say December, January, when we started hearing about it. The trade was made in January. And then, of course, it was made before the Super Bowl. So I don't think it's as simple as, writing off the Rams when Stafford retires. We have to see more. I think this team has a great head coach. I think this team has a great GM and an owner that's willing to shell out money. Unlike, some other owners that trade away Khalil Mack because they don't want to pay him. Not naming names, but the Raiders. But, I'll just say this. I think the Rams, I'm confident in long-term as long as Sean McVay and Les Snead are there. I think they make a great tandem, and whatever they choose to do, I think will be the right decision. They've already seen Jared Goff, and you learn from your mistakes, you learn from your wins, you learn from your losses. They're going to learn from their mistakes with Goff, and they're going to get better because of it. So I'm excited for that. So that's going to lead us into a break here. We'll hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back to the show. Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up on their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS, that is BETUS.com, or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code RAMS125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry, BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Ready for an out-of-world experience, fellas? Look no further than the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped. That has just taken off in not only the USA, but Canada, the UK, across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your whole solar system in. First scheduled for liftoff, new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, this spaceship is here to guide you on a journey to trim your body, balls, butt, and even your anus. This 4th generation trimmer also features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. Thanks to our advanced skin-safe technology, the Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor and a new multifunction on and off switch that can engage a travel lock and is even waterproof. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 4000K LED spotlight you can turn on and off when needed for a more precise shave throughout your travels across the universe. The Performance 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker. It's like having a little astronaut to chop your worst weeds up the top of your nose and your ears. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Don't forget about the Crop Preserver, ball deodorant, and the Crop Reviver to help your little planets be on their A-game while feeling the sun's heat. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Abort hairy balls, Buzz Lightyear that Woody with Manscaped. All right, guys, so we are back here. We are doing the Downtown Rams mailbag show, and it's been a long time coming. I'm glad we got some good spur of the moment. I only gave you guys really an hour, but we got some good participation on here. All right, so wrapping it up here, we have O'Cheesy. What's your take/rebuttal to every pundit's position that we are in win now mode or Super Bowl or bust year? I don't know why any team would choose to be in win later mode and is content not making Super Bowl runs. Despite being the youngest team in the NFL, somehow we're not built for the future too. This is excellent, O'Cheesy. I totally agree with you. This has kind of been my pump the brakes a little bit on the win now take. Look, getting Matthew Stafford is a quote-unquote win now approach. But like you said, are you ever not trying to win a Super Bowl? If that's not your goal, you're in the wrong profession. So the way I look at it is this, okay? My take on every pundit saying they're in win now mode is this. The Rams are just trying to have a sustainable dynasty, okay? They're not... basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to fill out the roster with guys they trust. You have Aaron Donald, you have Jalen Ramsey. Are they in win now mode because they want to get a title or two before Aaron Donald retires? Sure, and that's absolutely fine. Are they in win now mode because they're trying to get a Super Bowl before Matthew Stafford either leaves his contract year next season or he retires? Yeah. Andrew Whitworth, 39 years old, getting a Super Bowl before he retires? Yeah, absolutely. Those are incentives. But there's always an incentive to win a Super Bowl. You don't just have to have guys that are getting older or guys that you want to, basically showcase their prime. I mean, think about it. So, yeah, I kind of hate that. Originally, it wasn't that big of a deal, and I always catch myself saying it too, because it's like basically it spread like wildfire. Like you said, despite being the youngest team in the NFL, somehow we're not built for the future too. Exactly. The Rams, they just spent an entire draft class. You can find it on my YouTube channel. I did a video on it. They just spent their entire draft class in 2021 focused on the future. This is exactly how the Rams want to build out their roster. They're not focusing on the here and now, because if they were just focusing on the here and now, then they wouldn't have drafted Tutu Atwell when somebody like Terrace Marshall could have, contributed tomorrow. They wouldn't have drafted a wide receiver straight up, because if they were trying to win in the here and now, they would have gone out and gotten a pass rusher maybe to go alongside Leonard Floyd and not have to worry about, so many question marks at that position. If they wanted to win now, they might have just gone out and they would have gotten Creed Humphrey in the second round. If they wanted to win now, they might have just traded for Julio Jones and said, screw developing Van Jefferson, screw Tutu Atwell. And I mean, that's the thing. So they have really done a nice job of kind of mixing it up a little bit. They have, a mixture of a old and a new roster. So when you have, guys like Van Jefferson, those are your younger guys, right? Van Jefferson, Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, Bryce Perkins, Bryson Hopkins, Jacob Harris. So, they have some young guys there. Then the offensive line, you have Corbett. You have, of course, Noteboom, Evans, Ankrum. They have some younger guys there. On the defense, Donald's now 30. So looking at the defensive line, Ashawn's a little bit younger, but he's getting up there. So really it's Bobby Brown, who's 21 years old, Greg Gaines. Then you look at the linebackers, and really everybody in the linebacker group is relatively young. Has experience, sure, but is relatively young and not a ton of experience. And then you look at the corners, and it's like, Ramsey is still in his prime. He's, 27 years old. Darius Williams is around that. So those guys, and, David Long's younger. Dante Dion's a little bit younger. And then you have your safeties, which are just they're the young guns. They're very young. When you look at Jordan Fuller, Terrell Burgess, Taylor Rapp, and Nick Scott all coming from the NFL drafts, respectively, that's saying something recently, so to speak. So I will say this. There's a lot to what you're saying. There's a lot that I preach all the time. I can't stress it enough. You're absolutely right, Ocheesy. We got to stop focusing on the win now approach and focus on how do you build out a roster that will last. Are you trying to be the Patriots dynasty? Are you trying to continue to go back to the Super Bowl? Or are you just trying to win one? I think really what you can find are the teams that try to win one often fail on the grandest stage and end up falling off. The teams that are trying to win multiple may lose a Super Bowl, but come back and win it again, or win it, come back again and win it. Because here's the thing, is when you're building out a roster like that, those rosters are sustainable. And that's the most important word when building a roster, sustainability. If you can't have sustainability with your roster, that means if I take one piece off your roster, you're done for. I don't feel that way with the Rams. And albeit, I know that John Wolford, we just found out about because Jordan Rodriguez reported, John Wolford having appendicitis. I think he's going to be relatively okay. It might even start for the preseason. But if not, they have some depth there, getting an opportunity to see Perkins and Devlin Hodges in action in preseason. Regardless, that's my point. The Rams are sustainable because they have a guy like John Wolford that has started in the NFL before, started a postseason game, which is crazy enough. They have a guy that started 8 games for the Steelers in Devlin Hodges. And that's the thing, is that they have sustainability. That's why the Cam Akers injury, while it would cripple some teams, won't cripple the Rams. I don't even think you'll really see a huge difference. I just think a lot of those carries are going to end up going to Darrell Henderson instead of Cam Akers. They're both very, very talented. I kept saying it's not really a 1 and 2. It's more of a 1A, 1B scenario. And we're going to see that with Darrell Henderson moving forward. So sustainability is huge, and the Rams really have that down pat. They understand that. And so that's not really a shock to me. So to answer your question, Ocheesy, my take and rebuttal to every pundit's position on, the win now mode and all of that, basically I'm saying if you're just trying to win 1 year, it's reckless and it's not the right way to team build. It's basically setting your team up for failure. What I will say is in different sports, like say the NBA, it's a little different. When you have LeBron James and you're the Lakers and, he's 37, 38 years old and, showed some signs about, a little decline last year, you might want to start going out and getting talent there. You can try to win as many titles as you can before he retires. I think that makes sense. The NFL, when you're dealing with 53 players as opposed to 17 on a roster, doesn't really make a lot of sense to go out and you just basically trade all your draft picks and trade all your young players to get stars. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. With baseball, it's kind of the same thing. 25 on a roster, 40 on a postseason roster. There's no need to go out there and go crazy to grab just one guy. I mean, sometimes teams will do that, and they do sacrifice the long term, but you don't see it nearly as much as the NBA, which, there's a lot of guys that, don't develop because teams refuse to do it. Same thing with the NHL, really. That's another league that has that. So I just think the best way to put it is that I think with the NFL, when you're dealing with 53-man rosters and potentially 16-man practice squad this year, if you're doing the math, I mean, that's 66 players in the building, and not 66 players. That's 69 players in the building, and it's 70 when you account for the fact that the Rams are going to be adding that international player, Max Percher, from Italy. So he counts. He doesn't count against the roster or the practice squad, but they get an extra roster spot. So 70 players in that building, and you're going to tell me that you're focused on a few, and that's not the thing. So the Rams are willing to make moves if it makes sense, but they're not just a team that's just going to go out and get whoever just to be, just to make a splash. I don't think they're that team. You go out, you get Jalen Ramsey instead of Marcus Peters, you're upgrading the position. Even though Marcus Peters is a damn good cornerback, I don't think he fit the defense as well as he does in Baltimore right now. And furthermore, Jalen Ramsey is a culture changer, a franchise mover, a cornerstone of your defense. And when you're able to pair him with, Aaron Donald, it's just going to make it that much easier for defensive coordinators, as you saw with Brandon Staley and as you'll see with Raheem Morris. But I think that is going to do it. I think I covered everything. That is all of the mailbag questions. So these mailbag shows I'll be doing every now and then, pretty much every week. I think we'll do at least one because we're about to go on a crazy binge of releasing 8 podcasts, a month, 2 a week. So keep that in mind. That's our schedule on the year. We're really excited to get it going. We're excited to be partnered with such great partners, such as BetUS and, of course, Manscaped. But not only that, also to throw out there, if you like fantasy and you like best ball fantasy, the idea of basically not having to, worry about, really anything roster management. You just draft a team and then you wait and see if you win at the end of the year. If you're about that, then you can go over to Underdog Fantasy. There's a new app you can find. You can go online, Underdog Fantasy, type in the promo code DTR, and you'll get $25 bonus cash on your first deposit of at least $10. Again, we have betting, and then we have our fantasy football gaming. We have a lot of sponsors here. We're feeling really good about the show. We're feeling really good about the brand and the company, Downtown Rams, and we appreciate your support. You guys take care, and I will be back soon, as well as Alexis Kraft. Later, guys. Bet with the 3-decade leader, BetUS. Join now for 125% bonus or 200% bonus with crypto using promo code RAMS125. And bet sports, casino, horses, pop culture, and more at betus.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.
Get 20% off and free shipping with the code DTR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and make sure to use code DTR. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.